welcome to an exclusive video interview brought to you by the Enterprise World. Today we have with us Sonica Aron, who is the founder and CEO of Marching Sheep. A postgraduate in human resources from XRR Jamshedpur, Sonica has worked with leading companies like the PepsiCo, Vodafone, ICICI Paints, and Roche Diagnostics. She was heading HR for Philips Consumer Lifestyle Businesses in 2012 before deciding to take a break from the corporate world and establish her brainchild, Marching Sheep, in 2013. So today, let us know more about her company and her journey in this interview. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So, ma'am, we'll start with the first question, and I'd really like to know more about your company.
Okay. So, as you rightly said, I started Marching Sheep in 2013. Marching Sheep was born exactly 3 months after my daughter was born. So, I consider Marching Sheep my third child. And both Marching Sheep and my daughter have grown together. And both are 10 years old now. Today, in Marching Sheep, we are a consulting HR firm. We work on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We work in the area of bespoke learning interventions. We work on employee health and experience and OD consulting. So except for recruitment, we provide end-to-end HR services. I started Marching Sheep as a single woman army. I started with one client, and today we are delivering interventions, consulting across 80 countries, across all continents, and I have a thriving team of HR consultants. So I'm extremely proud of where we have reached. And I started Marching Sheep with a purpose. You know, when you are on the other side, when I was heading HR for companies, I often found that, we started an intervention with trying to change behavior, with trying to help employees learn something. And very often we would do that intervention, but at the end of the intervention, there was no change. So it would be a 1-day training or a 2-day training. And all I would be left with was a huge bill. Participants would go into a big hotel. We would spend a huge amount of money. It would be like a motivational thing. They would really enjoy that 1 day or 2 days. But when they would come back, there would be no change. So when we started, or I started Marching Sheep, I had this vision that whatever we do, there needs to be a change. Even if I introduce one concept, then it should stick. They should be able to apply it at work and see the difference. The company which is investing in that intervention, they should see the benefit of that intervention. So that was one. So the purpose with which we started, or I started Marching Sheep, was to make a tangible impact on people's lives and careers, and to drive respect and equality for all. And today, everything that we do, whether we design policies, whether we design diversity charters or competency frameworks, or we curate sessions for clients, this thread runs across everything that we do. So this is about Marching Sheep in a nutshell. Many times clients come to us with a preconceived notion that, Sonica, we want to have a session for our leaders on how to manage multi-generational workforce. When we start speaking to them and we dig deep on what are the problems, what are you really facing, what are the symptoms that you are seeing, and we start speaking to some of the participants, we realize that it is really not a session on how to deal with multi-generational workforce. It is really about understanding how leadership imperatives have changed in today's context, how our employees see or want to see leaders today. So it is really about making that difference, right, Apurva?
Yes,
So,
fantastic.
and that is what we enjoy, because when a client walks away happy, saying that yes, there is a difference, it makes us happy.
Wow, that's great. And actually, that's such an insightful answer because you've actually given us a lot of steps about what is actually happening in the deep end also. Not just the front end, but the back end also of it. So, ma'am, there are a lot of offerings that you have, there are a wide range of offerings. But as a company, I know that when you started out, you wanted to specialize in something. So, what are the products and services that you specialize in?
Hmm. So, I have been a woman professional, or I had been a woman professional for 12 years in the industry. And I started my career in sales because I started with a company which said that even if you're in HR, you've got to understand what business really does, because only then you can be an effective HR BP. And it's a very sound logic. And I realized that, when I was doing sales, the retailers saw you differently. When I would sit in a truck and go selling the product, the truck driver, the route loaders would see you differently. The sales executives would see you differently. And your ASM would expect something else. Corporate office would expect something else from you. Then I was put in a factory, and there was completely different the way people see you, the workmen, the staff, people from the village, because factories are in upcountry areas. Now, then I moved on, and life went on, and I had a child. And then I also saw that, how people perceive women who come back from maternity. Some women get support, some women do not get support. Some managers are supportive, some managers are not supportive, and how it creates an impact on a woman's ability to continue to work. Now, I was an odd one out who said that I have to work because I enjoy working and I had a support system, but there are many people who do not have a support system. So I realized that while organizations were looking at hiring women, they were hiring women, there was no consistent strategy or plan. When I, joined the corporate world in 2001, Apurva, uh, diversity and inclusion was not even a part of, in most organizations, was not even a part of an HR strategy, let alone be a business strategy, right? There was no POSH. There was something known as Vishakha guidelines. But how many organizations were making their employees aware about Vishakha guidelines? If there was a case of sexual harassment, women were left to deal with it on their own. There was just no awareness. Even the best of organizations, even today, when I do POSH sessions and I ask people that, do you know what existed before POSH? People don't know, right? So I realized that there was this huge gap. And when we started with this, that, and in 2012, if you never remember, Nirbhaya had happened. And December 2013, POSH came out. So I remember when I started Marching Sheep, and I went around talking to corporates, saying that we wanted to talk about diversity and inclusion. We wanted to talk about how we need to first build inclusive cultures and not have a recruitment forward strategy. Because when you create inclusive culture, that is when diversity will automatically happen. People were like, do a pro bono session. Who invests in diversity and inclusion? Our recruitment team is already working, they are hiring women. without realizing that, when you hire women without creating an inclusive culture, what you are essentially creating is a leaky bucket, right? Because women walk into the organization and they realize that there are no inclusive policies, there is no inclusive culture, there will be discrimination, there will be microaggressions, they don't feel they belong, and eventually they will quit. So the recruitment team will keep on hiring and you will keep on losing. So we met with a lot of pushback saying, come and do a pro bono session. International Women's Day is the time when we'll do it. March is the time when we'll do it. There was no consistent strategy. And when Posh came in, that is when we got a foot in the door. And we said that Posh is the first step. And it is really not. And there was a lot of backlash around Posh as well, wherein managers started saying that, now we can't give feedback behind closed doors, because if I give a negative feedback, what if a woman comes and says, I have been sexually harassed? Now, here, it was also the fault of a lot of, fly-by-night operators who just read the act and put the fear of God in male managers, saying that you can't do this, you can't do that. I think Posh needs to be implemented in letter and spirit, where both genders can coexist if everybody understands what are appropriate behaviors, what are inappropriate behaviors. It is a starting point of inclusion, and it's a very powerful thing. And who stops an organization from making a Posh policy which is gender inclusive? The act might be, more towards women, but nobody stops an organization from making a policy which is gender inclusive. So from that perspective, we started talking, and then we started taking steps. We started doing research. We started showing them that, this is how it works, doing inclusive surveys. We started showing them that how policies make a difference, how we can, when a woman comes back from maternity leave, how you can help. And then the Maternity Act got amended from 3 months to 6 months. And then there was a lot of backlash around that as well. And then we started talking about that, it is important, but think about when a woman comes back after 6 months. So when women come back from maternity leave, how are we helping them integrate back? Are we treating them fairly? Are we giving them their old job back? Are we taking care of their performance ratings? Are we penalizing them for having a child? Also, when they are away for the 6 months, how are we taking care of the organizational productivity? Because just saying that I will not hire women because they go on maternity leave is not the answer, right? So having the right policies and processes which help drive diversity and inclusion in a sustainable manner, that is what we started working with corporates on.
Excellent, excellent. And the way you described it is so well. No wonder why Marching Sheep is actually a thought leader in this space. And because you've always disrupted the traditional ways, and you've come up with, new ideologies and also systems, and you've incorporated them also. So, I read through all of your profiles and website and everything, and I've seen that you are a partner. You're not just a service provider. So as a partner, how do you stay innovative and competitive in the space?
So, you know what? I think that as people, we need to continue learning and evolving. I realized, there was this in 2018, the reading down of Section 377. And I realized that a lot of organizations were hiding behind the act on the inclusion of the LGBTQ community. And I realized that I myself knew very little about the LGBTQ community. And I started reading. And I really read a lot. I read a lot of articles. I read a lot of research, I read what is happening in different countries, I read some best practices, and I realized that, in ancient India, homosexuality or being a transgender was not illegal, was not considered criminal. It was only in 1857 when the British, put in this act, that it became criminal. And I said that when generation after generation has seen them as not a part of the society, then it needs awareness, right? So we started running these non-commercial campaigns called Marching with Pride, where we started speaking to people from the community, not celebrities, but people from the community who were people like you and me, and started to understand the kind of challenges they faced from childhood, accepting their own sexuality, their gender identity, the struggle with their family, the struggle of coming out. And coming out is not just one time when they come out to their family, but coming out again and again to their employer, to their friends, and how traumatic it can be. And every time I learned, I became more empathetic, more sensitive, more aware. And I realized that there were organizations, and I don't want to name them here, but there are client organizations who were expanding their narrative of diversity and saying that, okay, we don't want to just work on inclusion of women. We also want to work on inclusion of the LGBTQ community, because there would be people in our organization who might have been in the closet. So, when these organizations came, we started working with them on their policies and said, can we make your policies completely inclusive? In 2016, the Rights for People with Disabilities Act came, right? Today, if you go and talk in any organization, people are not aware that the RPWD Act covers 21 disabilities. They are only aware of a few, the visually impaired or the hearing impaired or the locomotor disability, people in a wheelchair. But there are so many more which are, and all 21 are employable. There are success stories all across. So we did a non-commercial campaign called 21 Marching, wherein we spoke to people from each one of those 21 disabilities. And again, not celebrities, people from every walk of life, people who are working in companies. Okay, we had Vineet Saraiwala, who is now, running Atypical Advantage. He also came on Shark Tank. We had somebody from Infosys, we had somebody from Pepsi, we had Major DP Singh, who's India's Blade Runner. So we had a doctor who comes, who actually takes care of patients with thalassemia, sickle cell, and hemophilia, which are the blood-related disabilities. So the point is that if we make people aware that all these disabilities are employable, but if there is no awareness, then how will you employ them? So we started getting into those, and today we are working with organizations on awareness sessions, on changing policies, on creating ERGs, on getting speakers who come and speak. Because I believe inclusion starts with awareness, and inclusion starts with I. First and foremost, we need to accept that everyone, irrespective of whether they're a woman or a member of the LGBTQ community or a person with disability, we all have feelings, we all have aspirations, we all have ambitions. We all want to be self-reliant. We want to live a life of dignity. And discriminating on the basis of their gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, or the fact that they are disabled is actually keeping them out of the workforce and preventing them from living a life that they want. Imagine if somebody stopped me from living a life that I want. How would I feel? You know, a lady who I was speaking with in a wheelchair, she said that, you know, Sonica, a few months, 18 months of lockdown made every able-bodied person feel so restless. We can't go to the mall, we can't go to office, we can't meet our friends. But you expect people with disability to live in a lockdown all their life? The other question somebody asked me, they said, what is normal? Okay. She said, I was born like this. For me, this is normal. For me, I do everything. You know, with my condition, I can, you know, go in a metro, go to college, study, apply for a job. And it's normal for me. For you, the way you are is normal. So the definition of normal is different for every person. Who defines normal? So I think this awareness needs to be spread, and we need to have a lot more conversations. And that is why with our conversations, we try to impact mindsets. And even if we can impact one or two mindsets, and these mindsets, because see, organizations are a subunit of the society. And when a person goes to office, they don't leave their beliefs, values, mindsets back at home. They take them to office. And if I can, or we can as an organization, impact even a few mindsets with these conversations, with these debates, with these panel discussions, then we would make a difference.
Excellent, excellent. You are a complete, true, passion-driven, professional and a leader, and you are actually making the real difference. It is about the real change. So, as a leader, we've touched a lot throughout the conversation about the company, but I'd really like to unfold more about your journey, your professional, entire career. And what were some of the key achievements that you've actually, been associated in this entrepreneurial journey? What were some of the key achievements that you have, achieved?
Very interesting question. And sometimes I really ask myself that, what is it that I have achieved? So it all boils down to what brings a smile to my face. So first and foremost, I have made some great friends. Apurva, I'm an introvert. So, some of my clients who have become great friends because we share the same passion for diversity and inclusion, or because we have co-created some programs which for their managers or leaders, which have truly made a difference to their organization. And that brings a smile to my face. That, these people are friends with me, and they rely on me. I can call them up at any time because I have built a relationship of trust. So that, I think, is one of my biggest achievements. The second thing that I'm extremely proud of is that some of my participants who I might have been in touch with, or who I might have done a session for many years back, they send me messages on International Women's Day or International Day of people with disabilities, and they're still in touch, and somebody will invite me for their wedding, or somebody will say that, I had just had a child, but I am still working, because you taught us career intentionality, and that makes me feel very happy. The third thing that makes me feel very happy is that in the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of environmental ups and downs. So we've seen demonetization, we've seen GST implementation, and most recently, COVID. And I've seen a lot of boutique HR firms uh, slow down their operations or send their people on furlough or cut down their workforce. Thankfully, I never did that. And that kept my team together. And today we are very, very close. My team is, I always say that my family gave me wings to fly, but my team keeps me afloat. And every time we were hit by something, it was always about how do we reinvent ourselves? How do we not give up? How do we meet the challenges of the changing environment? What is it that we need to do in these times? So I think this is the third achievement. And I think this is what I would call, and of course, and because of all this, we've been, I think, recognized by a lot of platforms, be it Fortune, be it Forbes, be it CIO Times, World's Leaders. A lot of our articles get published across all publications. We get invited by a lot of forums to come and speak. But more than that, it is about what just brings a smile to our faces at the end of the day. The other day, one of my team members, Nandita, called and said that, Sonica, you know what, this client, after the session, they walked up, the training head walked up to me and said, it was a brilliant session and we need you and Marching Sheep to curate more sessions for us because you guys are just brilliant. And I was like, yes, that's what makes the tire hit the road.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you've mentioned so much about your team. So my next question aligns with it. How do you identify and develop the talent within your organization? Because obviously you are an expert at recognizing every human, every talent that there is. So how do you identify and develop that talent?
So I think each person in my team is unique and they bring something different to the table. They have different aspirations. They have different ways of working. They have different paces at which they want to grow. One size does not fit all, right? So I have to be mindful of that. So I think a balance between accountability and empathy is something which I am very careful about. But at the same time, keeping the common goal that Marching Sheep as an organization needs to continue to deliver on its promise, its purpose. And we need to grow if we all need to grow. We need to grow as an organization. We need to grow in terms of our reach. We need to grow in terms of the number of people we are impacting. And for that, we need to continue to do the good work that we are doing. Now, in that, if somebody wants to do more in the area of diversity and inclusion, if somebody wants to work more in the area of, let's say, OD consulting, if somebody wants to work more in the area of research, then accordingly, we work or do the KRAs accordingly. We have quarterly catch-ups wherein we do a course correction. We also have, we have weekly Monday meetings in which we touch upon what did we achieve last week, what are our to-dos in the next week. We have a WhatsApp group in which we keep in touch. and there is no micromanagement. Even though the so-called official timings for Marching Sheep are 10 to 6, I don't monitor what time somebody is logging in, logging out. Everybody works from home. They manage their own accountability. They manage their own work at their own pace. As long as work happens, it's fine. Client deadlines are non-negotiable. We have to deliver our commitments, and that's that. I think I've been lucky to find team members who are also invested there in their own growth. And very often they come back to me and say, Sonica, I want to grow in this. And I'm more than happy to, fulfill that. So that's how it works.
Amazing, amazing. You are actually a true example of a leader, and you are more than a leader, you are a gem of a person. And it was such lovely talking to you, because we are at the end of the interview right now. So I just want to thank you for your time and presence today here. And I wish you all the best for your organization and also for your future. And that's what I have for you from my side today.
Thank you so much, Apurva. I loved speaking with you and sharing about Marching Sheep, my journey, our team, and it was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Most welcome, ma'am. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. You too.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Was it okay?
Yeah, it is perfect. Everything that you've answered, it is so in depth, and it was so inspirational, because much more sometimes a lot of leaders just answer whatever is asked, but you actually touched upon a lot of points, going deep inside it, and talking about the very detailed things that you've done. So it was amazing. And also I skipped, I think, a question, because you actually answered it in your previous one. So I thought it would be repetitive if I asked that. So that's the reason I skipped it.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, then. Take care, ma'am. It was lovely meeting and talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yes. Bye. Take care.
Bye.